Section 2.5. Everyone's favorite who takes this course. We're going to discuss application problems. You guys know these better as word problems. Yeah, I know. 4-letter word problems, right? Okay. So our goal here in working with these problems is going to be twofold. First of all, we're going to have to figure out the equation. And that's the challenging part for most of you. Once you get that, actually solving the equation is not going to be bad. But figuring out the equation is going to be the challenging part for you. So let's spend some time practicing that. We'll start with problem number 16. And actually, I don't have this one copied. All right. So I'll have to pull this one out from looking at the book. And we're going to go on tour with a rock band. Yay. So it says a rock group plans to travel for a total of 38 weeks. So, okay, 38 weeks of travel. They're going to make 3 stops. They'll be in Japan 4 more weeks than they'll be in Australia. Their stay in Sweden will be 2 weeks shorter than that in Australia. How many weeks will they be in each country? There's just a lot going on in this problem. It's just like, wow. So what I'd suggest we do is kind of start out not trying to tackle everything right away. They're going to travel for a total of 38 weeks, making 3 stops. Where are those 38 weeks going to be spent? 3 countries, right? Japan, Australia, and Sweden. Kind of a curious mix of choices. I don't know, what band has a fan base in those 3 different countries? I don't know. All right. But we'll start out there. 38 equals the amount of time they spend in Japan plus the amount of time they spend in Australia plus the amount of time they spend in Sweden. So J plus A plus S. Are we okay with this much? Does it make sense where we got that? That's where the total of 38 weeks comes from. The problem that we have here, though, is that you've got 3 different variables. You can't solve one equation for 3 different variables. You can solve one equation for one variable, and that's it. It would be nice if we just had one variable in this expression. So let's look back at the equation, or at the problem, see if we can't sort of figure things out. It says they will be in Japan 4 more weeks than they'll be in Australia. Their stay in Sweden will be 2 weeks shorter than that in Australia. So they keep on telling you about their stay in other countries compared to what? Compared to Australia. So let's let Australia be X. Let's just choose Australia to be X. And then we have Japan and Sweden. Now their stay in Japan was 4 weeks longer than their stay in Australia. So what could I put down here? X plus 4. Their stay in Sweden was 2 weeks shorter than their stay in Australia. What could I put? Thank you. X minus 2. Now notice that allows us to do some nice substitution. So we can plug all these things in here. There's your A. Here's your J. Here's your S, etc. So we're going to do some substitution. We're going to get 38 equals X plus 4 plus X minus 2. Yay. What's the benefit of this new equation? Yeah, it just has one variable. It only depends on X. Can I simplify the right-hand side? Madison C? Can I do anything on the right-hand side? Are there any like terms that can combine? Let's start with the x's maybe. How many do I have on the right-hand side? And then I can combine these two, 4 and the negative 2. What equation do I have on the right hand, or what expression do I have on the right-hand side? What expression do I have on the right-hand side when I simplify all that? What do you get when you simplify this? Good. 3x plus, yeah. And we'll simplify that. We'll just do 3x plus 2. So the nice thing is that we can keep solving here, right? We got rid of or we simplified the right-hand side a little bit. What else do we need to do to solve? Yeah, subtract 2. 36 equals 3x. Then what? Divide. Good. Divide by 3. 36 divided by 3 is 12. Nice. So if x is 12, what is j? 16. And what is s? 10. And if you total it all up, that totals into your 38 weeks on tour. Nice. Nice. All right. This is going to be kind of what you're going to do in several of these problems. That is, start by writing a general equation and then try and simplify it by rewriting it so that it only depends on one variable. I'm going to practice that one more time with problem number 22. Before I do problem number 22, any questions on that? Okay. Let's try problem number 22 then. Okay, so you have 2 tanks that hold a total of 45 gallons of toxic solvent. So let's stop right there. That word total is kind of suggestive. We saw that in the last problem. We've got 2 tanks that hold a total of 45 gallons of this toxic sludge. Is there an equation we can write right now? It doesn't have to be our final equation, let's just get started. What could we write here? 45 equals what? X plus what? Don't go farther. Let's just stay here. Right here. 2 tanks hold a total of 45 gallons. X plus Y? Sure. My morning class did A plus B. X plus Y works just as well. So 45 equals X plus Y. You can choose whatever you want. On some problems, sometimes there will be a name that suggests itself. Other times it won't. It's up to you. But X plus Y, A plus B, R plus P, whatever works. Now, one of these, one holds 6 gallons more than twice the amount in the other. So 6 gallons more than twice the amount in the other. So you got to pick one of these to be the big tank and one of them to be the little tank, etc. But let's let Y be defined in terms of x. So x is the smaller tank, y is the bigger tank. I need to write an expression for that other tank here. So tank Y holds 6 gallons more than twice the amount in the other one. So in us, we're going to write it as an X. See if you can't come up with an expression for Y. And then check your expression with a neighbor. So write down 6 more than twice the amount in the other tank. So basically the expression for Y. Check it with a neighbor. So I want to hear some dialogue, some actual human conversation with somebody other than Siri. And I suppose some of you use Android too. I mean, who do you talk to if you have an Android phone? Nobody? Okay. Android phones, sorry. Make a friend. Talk to somebody. Robert. Judy looks lonely. Compare notes. Who else is lonely? The Baron. Did you talk to somebody? Be social. Come on. It's your chance. Y is the bigger one. Yeah. So the smaller one is X. And 6 gallons more than twice that amount will be what's in Y. So, Liam, did you make a friend? Head here looks like a good friend. All right. At some point, you guys are going to have jobs and actually have to work with other people. So I want you to be comfortable with that. I know. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. I got some news about Santa too. If you're still in the dark on that. All right. Give me a chance. Did you socialize? All right, cool. All right, thank you. All right, I appreciate that. I appreciate having a social class. Okay, so we want 6 gallons more than twice the other tank. So 6 gallons, 6 plus 2x. How many people got that expression? Doing all right on that one? I mean, this is the guts of this problem. Because once you have this, you can replace that y variable here and have an equation that you can actually solve. So it's 45 equals x plus 6 plus 2x. And again, the advantage here is that you now have an equation that depends on one variable. So, Jaylyn, can you simplify the right-hand side for me, please? Are there any like terms that I can combine? All right, good. So I get 45 equals 3x plus 6. Thank you. Elizabeth, what do I do to solve next? Thank you. Subtract a 6. So I get 39 equals 3x. Do I have to show what I do next, or can you just tell me the answer? Yeah, you divide both sides by 3, and we get 13 equals x. Now x, that's the smaller of these. If X has 13 gallons, or holds 13 gallons, how much is in Y? Nice. You're going to take and plug in the 13 there. 2 times 13 is 26, plus 6 is 32. So 32 gallons. Does that make sense? Does that work? What's 32 plus 13? 45. So, yeah, that makes exact sense. Perfect sense. But did you see what we did here for both of these equations? In both of these equations, we kind of broke down our original equation and then rewrote it a little bit. We wrote it so that we just depended on one variable. We did the same thing here. So, all right, well, let's just write it with one variable. So we did. Let's try problem number, I think 24 is what I want to do next. It's got a little bit of a different flavor. Let's see, that's our third one. So, problem 24. An engine repair costs a truck owner $1,185 in parts and labor. I wonder if this is like actually happened to the author. I don't know. We'll find out. Parts and labor. Here, down here. If parts were $690 and the mechanic charged $45 an hour, how many hours did the repair take? Okay. Well, let's start kind of the same way we did with the previous problem. A truck owner spends $1,185 in parts and labor. Can I get an equation out of that? Carrie, what equation can I get out of this? We got parts and labor add up to $1,185. Does that suggest an equation? I'm sorry, Carly, not Carrie. Is there an equation that's suggested there? X plus Y. How about if I use P plus L? Just parts plus labor. Okay. Now, in this particular case, they tell us something that's going to be really, really helpful, right? What do they tell us about in this problem? Yeah, how much the parts were, right? Parts were $690. So, really, this is $1,185 equals $690 plus L. So we can solve for L. Solve for L by subtracting 690. Yeah, 690. I think that's 495 for L. We're not quite done though. That's how much was spent on labor. Labor is 495. So that much works okay. But we need to know how many hours this guy worked on it. So 495 represents how many hours at $45 an hour? What would you have to do? Yeah, divide by 45. So you divide both sides by 45. And you get 11 hours for X. Somehow I think that $45 an hour sounds like a real bargain for car repairs. If you can find that, power to you. So a little bit similar to the previous one, in as much as we started out with kind of a general statement, P plus L. The little twist at the end was we had to solve by dividing by 45. Let's get around to problem number 26 next. A party supply store charges a setup fee of $80 plus 35 cents per balloon to make a balloon arch. Okay. A business has $150 to spend on decorations for their grand opening. How many balloons can they have in the arch? Well, let's see here. That $150 in problem number 26 has to spread itself out over two different costs. $150. What's that going to equal? It's going to equal the setup fee. It's going to equal 80 plus 35 cents per balloon. What kind of expression can I write for 35 cents per balloon? 35 times X or 35 times B, whatever you want. So 0.35 times X or 0.35 times B. I like the idea of 0.35 times B because B is reminiscent of the problem itself. It's the number of balloons that we're going to end up with. You can use an X, that's fine. No problem there. There's a couple possibilities in terms of solving. Let me throw it out to you guys. Ed, what would you do to solve here? What would you start with? All right, what do we want to do about the decimal? Excellent. Sure. Everything has to get multiplied by 100 in order to clear out the decimal here. So 150 equals 80 plus 0.35 times B. So I'm going to multiply this by 100, this by 100, and this by 100. All right, moving or multiplying everything by 100 is going to shift the decimal two places to the right. So, Rochelle, what equation am I going to get here, please? Two places. So 15,000. Good. Two places again. So 8,000 plus. Thank you. Plus 35B. All right. Nice. A little bit friendlier because now we don't have to deal with decimals. So let's subtract off the 8,000. So we get 7,000 equals 35 times B. Almost done. What's our last step here? Yeah, divide by 35. So 7,000 divided by 35. Well, 70 divided by 35 is what? Anyone? 2. And then I'll have 2 zeros left over. So B is 200. Which, okay, 200 balloons. The thing that's you're going to have to keep an eye on in this one is, when you have the word per or each. Those things are kind of implying you to multiply to get the prices from there. Okay, let's take a look at kind of a warm-up example for problems 30 and 32 and stuff like that. So the iPhone 7 came out recently, right? If you were to buy one, how much is the iPhone 7 going to cost? How much is its list price? Was it $700-800? Which one? 800? Wow. But it doesn't stop there, right? It's $800 plus what? 6% sales tax. At least if you buy it here in Michigan, right? But sales tax would be different someplace else. But I think there's some states, I think Tennessee, they don't have an income tax, but I think their sales tax is like 9% or something like that. It's pretty expensive. But what's the price going to be with tax? Well, it's going to be 800 plus 6% of 800. Let's convert 6% to a decimal. What's 6% as a decimal? 0.06 times 800 gives you $48. So your total budget or total cost out the door is $848. Wow. That's expensive. It's a lot for a phone. I mean, they're cool. I understand. All right. The thing that I want to get across here, though, is this part right here. When you have to calculate things like sales tax or commissions, you're going to go back and do 6% of this amount, whatever this is. So that decimal has to multiply this. Let's approach this problem from a different direction. Suppose you have $742 to spend on a phone. That's your total budget. So that has to buy your phone and pay for the tax. How much could the list price be? How much could the selling price be? Well, 742 has to equal the selling price plus the tax. Now, do we know what the selling price is? No. But we do know what the tax is. The tax is 6% of the selling price. So 6% of the sales price. So I'm going to let X represent my sales price. 742, that's on the left-hand side still. How do I represent 6% of the selling price? What expression could I write here for 6% of the selling price? Well done. 6% as a decimal is 0.06. Of means times the sales price. Sales price is X. So 0.06 times X. Now, it'd be wrong to say 0.06. It's 0.06x. You need that variable in there because it's not 6 cents, it's 6% of this. Let's clean this up a little bit. 742 equals x plus 0.06x. Before I clean it up too much, do you see where this is coming from? It's 6% of this. We don't know what this is, but whatever it is, you're going to multiply by 0.06. That's going to be your tax. Let's clean up this equation. We're going to multiply everything through by 100. 74,200 equals 100x plus what? Ray? What would this be if I multiply it by 100? Some help, Madeline? Just 6? 6x, thank you. 6x. You're just going to move the decimal 2 places to the right. And that's why we're multiplying by 100, is to move the decimal 2 places to the right and really get rid of the decimals. Are these like terms on the right-hand side? Yes. 74,200. Mirza, what do I get when I combine the right-hand side terms? 106x. Now, on any exam I give you, I'm going to make sure that the numbers work out nice and evenly. But you should be able to tell me how to solve here. What would I do to solve? Divide by 106. So if you divide by 106, 74,200 divided by 106 equals $700. So that has to be the sales price before tax, so that you can get out the door with $742. The whole point of this problem that I gave you, kind of an ad-lib one, but the whole point of this problem is to come up with this expression right here. The x plus 0.06x. You're going to need that x when you solve these types of problems. I'm going to do 2 more like this. But before I do the next example, is there something that I can help clear up with this one? All right, so realize that you have one coming like this. And let me help you try and get prepared for that. Take a look at problem number 30. Now what I'll do for my part is make sure that the numbers work out easy. I'm not going to give you things that work out crazy because your first test is going to be without calculators. Here we go. What price should a home be listed if the owner wants to make $567,000 on its sale after paying a 5% real estate commission? So, okay. 5.5% real estate commission would be cheap. Probably going to be more like 6% or worse. Okay, so problem 30. Our goal is to try and find the sale price. So x equals the selling price. Now, what's the 567,000 represent? That's how much money you get after you sell it, right? But you don't get all that money. That is, you don't get X. What happens to some of that money? It's the commission. Now, is that commission going to be adding to X or multiplying X? Or what's it going to do from the X? Subtracting. What expression can I write for that commission? Tell you what, why don't you think about it for a second? Try and come up with an expression for the commission, and let me help you out. It's going to be 5.5% of the selling price. That's how much your commission is. So this is how much you get. It's just sale price minus the commission. Talk it amongst yourselves, work on it, figure out an expression for that. What's that going to be? Percentage to a decimal. Look at the definitions that we have there. This is the challenging part. So this is why we're going to do a couple problems like this. 567,000 equals x minus. First things first, let's convert this to a decimal. What's 5.5% as a decimal? Good. 0.055. The word of, what's that going to mean mathematically? What are we going to have to do? Multiply. So there's your multiplication. Of the selling price. The selling price. What could I put in for the selling price? X. You see where each piece of this equation is coming from. That's the amount you sell it from, and then you're going to lose 5.5% of what you sell it for. It's such a scam. Oh, it's such a painful thing. But in any case, let's keep going. To clean this up a little bit more, I'm going to get rid of the decimals. Before I do that, are you okay with where we got this expression from? 567,000 equals x minus 0.055x. Let's clear out the decimals. Autumn. What can I do to clear out the decimals on this one? Okay. Well, I'm going to move this 3 places to the right, so I'll multiply by 1,000. I mean, technically, these are already like terms, and if you're comfortable, you can work with it from there. Nothing wrong with that. For this, though, 567,000, I have to move the decimal 3 places to the right. So 567,000 equals 1,000x. Robert, what's the last term, please? All right, so 55x, 55x, because you're going to move that decimal again 3 places to the right. 1, 2, 3. So that's where it's going to be. This decimal becomes 55. These are like terms. 567,000 equals 945 times x. Jimmy, what's the last step? What do I have to do? Good, divided by 945. So 567 million divided by 945. And like I said, if I give you any problems like this, the numbers are going to work out a little friendlier. This one happens to work out pretty good. Your answer is going to be 600,000. Do not worry about this last quotient. I'm not trying to make you walking computers or walking abacuses, that kind of thing. You should know how to get to here. So if there's questions regarding that part, let me help out, because you're going to do problem number 32 in just a minute. So any follow-up on problem number 30 then? Oh, it's a good question. That 600,000 is the answer to your equation all the way through. So 600,000 is the solution here, 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 etc. So when you're all said and done, you don't have to divide by 1,000 or anything like that. This is your answer. And let's think about it a different way. If you're going to end up with 567,000, you should start out with more than that, right? Because you're going to lose some to the commission. So if you divide this answer by 1,000 or something like that, then you end up with like $600 as your sale price. It'd be hard to walk away with almost 600,000 if you're selling it for 600. So yeah, you don't want to divide this by 1,000 or anything like that. This number satisfies this equation, this equation, this equation, this equation. It's your solution all the way through. What we've done in multiplying by 1,000 is just make it easier to work with this equation. It doesn't change the solution though. So, really good question. I appreciate that. Interestingly enough, I got a similar one in my morning class, and they're both spot on. You don't have to worry about it changing the solution. Last thoughts on problem 30 before we look at 32. So problem 32 talks about a finder's fee. Is an amount of money that's paid to someone who brings together people for business purposes. Suppose the owner of a software company needs to sell it to make $9,950,000 to pay back creditors. If he expects to pay a finder's fee of 0.5% of the selling price to find a qualified buyer, for what price must the company be sold? So, like the last one, let's start out with X is the selling price. And with that, try and at least write down the equation. Now, solving it, hey, that'd be great. I'd love for you to solve it as well. But at least try and write it down. Be careful converting 0.5% to a decimal. 0.5%, that's 0.5%. So be careful converting that to a decimal. All right, good luck. I will walk around and try and help out. Yeah, that's fine. But if X is your selling price, he's not going to end up with that. Okay, so the selling price, is X. But when we're done paying the selling price and the finder's fee, we're going to end up with $9,950,000. But let's see, I've got to pay the finder's fee. So that finder's fee subtracts from what I'm going to net. That's how much I'm going to get when I'm all done. Finder's fee. What's the finder's fee? How do I calculate the finder's fee? It's a selling price. Well, let's see. It's 0.5%, so 0.5% of the sale price. It's 0.5% of the selling price. Now, I think part of the tricky problem in all of this is converting 0.5% to a decimal correctly. 0.5%, decimal point is here. I move it 2 places to the left to go from percent to decimal. So 1, 2. That's going to put 2 zeros in front of the 5. So 0.005. 9950000 equals X minus 0.005. Is that enough? Just 0.005? X. Good. You need the X. It's not just minus half a penny. It's minus 0.5% of the selling price. So, I mean, this, if you get this far, that's a good chunk of partial credit. Because, I mean, it's just challenging to come up with the equations here. And I encourage you to do as much as you can. And I'll be as generous as I can with the partial credit. Let's multiply everything through by what? What's going to get rid of the decimal here? 1,000. So times by 1,000, times by 1,000. I mean, even if you make a mistake with some of the algebra here at this point, you've still gotten a good chunk of the points by getting this far. So 9950. By multiplying by 1,000, I'm moving the decimal places 3 places to the right. So I get 1,000x minus, well, 1, 2, 3 would be 5x. The nice thing for us is that the right-hand side has like terms. 995x. What's the last thing to do here? Divide by 995. So I'll take this and divide by 995. And that works out nice and evenly. This goes into that once, followed by 7 zeros. So $10 million should be the sale price if you're going to net $9,950,000. Okay. Is there some more details on this one that you'd like me to go over? Boy, the key part here is to get this term right there. So subtract off the 0.005x. I mean, without an x here in particular, and without the correct decimal there, you're sunk. You at least have to have that x there, and then even if you screwed up the percentage, that's not as bad as not having the x. You got to have that x there. All right. Did you want one more? Yes. Okay. Let's see. I think in the news the other day, in fact this morning, I heard that they were selling some stuff at auction from President Reagan's personal collection of stuff. And some of the stuff sounded, like a bowl of jelly beans was going to get like $20,000. Really? Wow. So, but suppose you wanted to end up with $20,000 after the sale price. Actually, let's say so you wanted to end up with $18,000. So, sale price of an item at auction. Let me zoom out a little bit. There you go. Should net $18,000. Oops. Yeah, that's right. $18,000. If there is a 10% auction fee, how much should the item sell for? So you got your item, it's going to sell for a certain amount, but then you got to pay 10% to Christie's or Sotheby's, who's ever holding the auction. How much does it have to go for in order for you to net $18,000? So it's your. How do you calculate your net price? It's going to be net price equals the sale price minus the auction fee. See if you can't come up with an equation for that. Help each other out. I can't always walk around and catch everybody, so help each other out. I'll walk around for just a minute. I think the numbers on this one should work out pretty good. Okay, this one seems like it's working a little bit better. So our net price is going to be $18,000. Do we know what our sale price is? No. So most of you chose to write that as an X, and that's fine. How do I calculate the auction fee? It's 10% of the sale price. Okay. So somebody translate this second part of this for me into the equation. What would that be? Good. 0.1. You could put 0.1 or 0.10. Doesn't matter if you want to put 0.10. There is a slight advantage in this case of using 0.1. And I think I noticed that when I saw Ed's paper. If you have just 0.1, to clean this up and to get rid of the decimals, what would I multiply by? How far do I need to move the decimal to get rid of the decimal here? One place to the right, so what should I multiply by? Just 10. So if you wanted to write 0.10 and you multiply everything through by 100, great. That'll work fine. If you say that, oh, really, this is just 0.1, multiply by 10. Make your life easy, right? So we get 180,000 is 10x minus x. Well, those are like terms. 10x minus x gives me 9x. And 9x goes in 180,000, or divide both sides by 9. So it's not 9x, it's just 9. 20,000 times. There you go. Practice those, practice the other ones. For homework, let's see. Try. Let's see, which ones do I want here? For homework section 2.5, try 19 through 35. That's on page 145 or 140, let's see, 147. Well, actually for you it's probably going to start on page 140, 49. Yeah, 149. Remember, there's a test on Wednesday. It will cover up through section 2.5, and we won't be using calculators on that first exam. Have a good one. See ya.